What's up? What's up there, internet land? Good evening, good evening, good evening, BWP family. Uh, my name is Sean Perryman. I'm coming to you live from my home office here in Boston, Mass. Um, Actually, before I get started, tell you a little bit about myself. I just want to preempt by saying that I'm a little nervous. I don't know why, because I've done plenty of live videos before, but this is my first time doing something like this. So just bear with me as I try to go through this process. So again, hello, welcome, and good evening. Again, my name is Sean Perryman. And here, I'm just here tonight to discuss a book I'm sure you guys saw in the group. Um, this is the actual book, Notes to My Loved One, A Guide to Dealing with Loss. So, before I get into the book and why I wrote it and all that good stuff, I just wrote down a couple of things. I'm just going to talk about first. We're going to talk about five things. One, who am I? Two, how I started writing. Three, why I wrote this book. Four, who this book is for. And number five, my goal for writing this book. All right. So, first and foremost, who am I? Again, my name is Sean Perryman. I reside here in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm a mother, and an entrepreneur. I'm an author. I'm a travel business owner, and a mom of a now 17-year-old young man who just turned 17 on, what day was that? Wednesday on the 30th of September. So that's a little bit about who I am. All right. Number two, we talked about why I started writing. Actually, writing just kind of happened. I never really saw myself as an author. I, saw a friend of mine who was offering a course at one time about how to write a book without actually writing it. And I thought, hey, that sounds great. And so I invested in myself and took the opportunity to take that course over, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 weeks, maybe it might have been eight. We met every week and we had different assignments that we did. And that was actually how I wrote my first book. This book that I'm talking about tonight, Notes to Our Loved One, is actually my second book. My first book I wrote on my love of cruising. And so that's how I really started writing. It was with that first book. Again, it wasn't planned. It wasn't anything that I just sat down and said, "Hey, I want to take all of what I got up here and put pen to paper and write a book." So it just kind of happened. But I will tell you that it has kind of evolved since that time 4 or 5 years ago when I first took that course and wrote wrote the second book. Hello, Dana. Thank you for living in with me. I appreciate you for stopping by and checking this live video out. Okay, so again, that was number two. That was how I started writing. The third thing we're going to talk about is why I wrote this book. So I'm going to kind of take my time with this because I want people to really understand what preempted me to really take the opportunity to write this particular book at the time that I did. So I lost my mom back in December 8th of 1999. Um, Growing up, it was just me and my mother, was the only child. Um, and so it was just me and her. We spent a lot of time together. We did everything together. We were like Bonnie and Clyde. She was, like again, we spent numerous times doing numerous different things all day, every day. And when she passed, it was of course sudden. I talked to her earlier that morning, and maybe about 8 o'clock, I talked to her. By 8:30, my aunt had called and told me that she was no longer here. So it was, quick and sudden, wasn't expecting it. And of course, no one's ever expecting someone to die. But again, it was just really sudden, excuse me, when that happened. And I remember at the time, going through dealing with all the different emotions and pain that I was having with the passing of my mother, but didn't really know kind of what to do with, to do with all of that. And so I remember as we were putting together the obituary and doing all those things, and people, usually get up and say something, or someone will write something on behalf of that other person. And at the time, I could not do that. So a cousin of mine actually wrote something in my mom's obituary, a very nice poem that she put together, and went from there. But I was never able really to do what I did when I wrote this book. And again, we're going to talk about that. Hey, Miss Watkins, thank you for living in. I appreciate you um, checking out this live video. And so fast forward, now we're 2020 now, but fast forward 2019, and my dad is now transitioning. Um, but what I was able to do was I was able to do kind of what I did at my mom's death at the time. And when my mom passed, I was able to actually just um, put one foot in front of the other and make the phone calls and to do what needed to be done at the time to make those final arrangements. And so I think at the time I never really just I won't say I didn't mourn, but I mourned probably later on in the process more so than in the beginning. But when I saw my dad getting sick, I was well prepared, even though it had been years now. My mom's been gone, it'll be 21 years this year. So even though it had been some time, I was pretty more prepared and just kind of knew what needed to be done. Now, you heard me say earlier, yes, that I'm an only child, but my dad has the children, so I have siblings on my dad's side. And so as we were going through this process, I remember asking one of my brothers to try to start writing the obituary. And one of the things that I realized is that he couldn't bring himself to do it. And I understood that. And I was okay because what I understood is that everybody is in a different place and space in their life. And so I got okay with that. I just got out the pen and the notebook and I started writing. And as we were writing out that obituary, and a lot of times, a lot of this was happening while we were actually in the room with our dad in the hospital, because he wasn't talking, he wasn't doing any of that. And I remember asking my siblings, hey, do you guys want to say something? Do you want to put some words in here as a tribute to dad? And at the time, again, I still was not really thinking about a book per se. Um, Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. I really wasn't thinking about a book at the time. At that time, it was all about just getting the arrangements together so that we could do what we needed to get done once he passed. And, when he passed, again, he passed March 26, 2019, which was about maybe 2 weeks after my birthday. My birthday was the 15th. Then I have a sister we're like 3 days apart, the 18th. And then I think this one like the 20th. So there's like three of us, all different years, but like 2, 3 days apart from one another. So, shortly thereafter my birthdays is when he passed on the 26th of March. And again, we're putting all this stuff together. We're doing all these different things. And again, there's still no thought. There's, about doing a book or anything. But as we were writing those, what I call now love notes or those notes, um, after everything was over, after everything kind of settled down, I looked at what I had. And what I did know was that I knew I wanted to do something with these words that were these words of love, these notes of love. I knew I wanted to do something with them. I just didn't know what yet. It wasn't quite formulated yet, but I knew I wanted to do something. So a few months went on. I kind of sat on, and then finally, for me, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. That's my thing. I'm not pushing that on anybody else. But what I would find is that God would kind of wake me up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It seemed to be my hour that He would wake me up. And what He would wake me up with would be more thoughts, more ideas, how to take those notes and to put it into a book. And so that happened for a couple of weeks. Just kind of went on and on and on. I would wake up, I'd go to bed 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm up again. And sometimes the thoughts are coming so fast. I couldn't even write it fast. I couldn't write fast enough. It was hard to type. I really just wanted to handwrite it. So I would grab my notebook, I grabbed the pen, and the words are just flowing. And then Maybe a few days later, next couple of days, nothing happened. But this happened for maybe a couple of weeks. And so finally now this book was starting to be formulated. But what I didn't have was a title. So, I went through this process and trying to figure out what I want to call it, what I want to name it, and all of that. But that was really how or why I wrote the book, is because I lost my dad. I had lost my mom, and now we had these words, and I really wanted to do something with it. And so when we talk about who this book is for, but before I go there, I'm sorry, let me go back and we talk about the book not having a title. And again, one night, how I actually came up with the title is that one night I was laying down and was playing one of the radio stations on my phone, and Cameo, the group Cameo happened to come on, and another person who had transitioned, was a good friend of mine, used to love Cameo. And every time I hear Cameo, I actually think of this person. And so again, this song came on, and understand, guys, it's about not even 10, it's probably about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So again, here's this, early morning kind of either being awakened or I'm up, and God kind of speaking to me. And at that moment is when I came up with the title, Notes to Our Loved Ones, A Guide to Dealing with Loss. Um, and so that's kind of, why I wrote the book, and it's kind of how the book was formulated, how it got started, and how it got its title. All right. So again, hey, Donica, how are you? Thank you for living in with me this evening. I appreciate you, ladies, for coming in to hanging out with me tonight on this 6 p.m. slot. See, no one wanted that slot, so I decided I would go ahead and take it. And so, who is this book for? This book for us is for anybody who's lost anybody. It's just that. And it doesn't matter how long ago it's been. Again, my mom has been gone now. It'll be 21 years in this December. My dad is just going on 2 years come March of next year. So it doesn't matter. But what I found was, as I was going through this process, is that we're all in different places and spaces in our life, and death and dying, it affects everybody differently. And we don't always, we always have good intentions, but we don't always say the right things, or we don't always know, what we should feel, how we should feel, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. And so what I happened to find was writing became very cathartic for me. It was able to just get pen to paper, and I did it old school. It wasn't typed up or anything initially. When I would write these notes and stuff, it would be in a notebook, pen to paper, just writing the words as they kind of flowed out, onto the pages. And so this book is for anybody who's lost anybody. And it doesn't matter how long, but what I want people, so that's really who the book is for. So you know what? I want to actually going to read a little excerpt out the book about, we talk about who this book is for. Okay. This book is for anyone who has lost a loved one. It is here as a guide to help you deal with the unbearable pain we call death through our own words. And in there, I talk about how the title of the book became. I talk about my dad and being able to, write this book. And so that's what this book is for. And it's also a small um, workbook in the back. There's some questions that I ask kind of at the end of each chapter. And the chapters aren't very long, folks. It's a quick read, but what I hope is that it's a powerful read. I hope that anyone who gets the book, anyone who's lost anybody, will actually go through the exercises. They aren't difficult at all. You know, again, we can talk about a little bit. One with the first chapter in the book, after we talk about who the book is for and stuff, is death and what does it mean. And so we kind of talk about it a little bit, and then I ask some questions at the end. And one of the questions I ask is, who have you lost? And I really suggest that people really just take the time. I know sometimes it's not easy, and someone may say, Sean, I really don't want to go through that pain and stuff. But sometimes if we're still dealing with stuff and, or, things are going on, sometimes we need to be able to work that out. And so maybe writing things down, and, you can decide what to do with your note at a later date. You can keep it, you can ball it up, you can throw it away, you can burn it, you can do whatever you want. But maybe to be able to put some words to be able to talk to that person that you lost. So that's what the first question I ask: who have you lost? The second question I ask here is, have you acknowledged your pain? Because a lot of times we don't. A lot of times we just kind of move on. We just kind of keep moving forward. And, then one day we have this big, massive explosion and we don't understand why. So, as the person who's left here to deal with that person's loss, we also have to acknowledge our pain and never let anyone tell you that, oh, you'll get over it in, a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months or years. I still have moments at 21 years. My mom be gone 21 years. I still have moments where I cry or where a thought comes up and I think about my mom. So, again, doesn't matter the time. The other question I ask is, have you reached out to your support team? You have people around you. A lot of times we hear people say, "Oh, if you need me, I'm here." And a lot of times people may not need you initially when it first happens, but they might later on down the road. So make sure that you're checking up on your friends. 3, 4 months later, a year later, hey, how you doing? You know. And the last question I asked in this first chapter, and is, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Now, one of the things that I do promote a lot on my personal page, one of the things I talk about a lot is self-care. A lot of times we don't do that, especially as women. Sometimes we don't do that. We are very good at taking care of other people, doing other things, but we don't always take care of ourselves. We don't always take out the time to see what we need. We need to do an internal check and say, hey, I need to be able to say, Sean, what do you need today? So I think it was last year I got a gift for my birthday, which was a gift card to Massage Envy. And if anyone's been to Massage Envy, I've been before, and they always afterwards ask you, about a package. So they offered me this great package, and actually I took it. I pay for it every month. That is one of the things that I do for self care for myself. So it is important, not just if you lost someone, but just in general. Again, we're taking care of everybody else. We should be taking care of um, ourselves. So again, that's a little bit more about who this book is for. Um, and my goal for this book is to really just help people to be able to write notes to their loved ones. You may decide, like I said, to keep those notes, and you may decide to write more than one note, and it's okay. But what I want people to get from this is that I want you guys to really acknowledge your feelings. I don't want you guys to take those feelings and push them under the rug and think that I can't talk about it. Or if my friend or my family hears me mention so and so one more time, we need to be able to get that out. And if you can't get that from your loved ones and other family, reach out, because there's a lot of us in this world who have lost people, and of course, dealing with the pandemic and everything that's going on, we've had a lot more recent deaths because people are dying from this. So, feel free to reach out, again, grab that book, because there are some great, what I think, um, powerful exercises that will help you. And one of the goals is that I would love to be able to, if you write a note to your loved one, I would love for you to share it with me if you would like. I would like to maybe continue this kind of book series, because at the time, it wasn't, when I started out, it wasn't really a book series, but I would like to maybe continue with notes that other people have written to their loved ones. And you can sign anonymously if you want. You can sign your name to it. You can not mention the person's name if you want, but whatever it is that you feel that you want to write or say to that person, be able to say it. Be able to talk to that person. A lot of times, people will look at us if we say, "Oh, I'm talking to my loved one," but in your quiet time, it's okay to just kind of reach out and just say, hey, Ma, I'm thinking about you today. Or maybe a song comes on and it reminds me of her. Or, there are a few songs out even now. My dad was a DJ, so he played music. My mother loved music. So, I have a love for music just in general. But when I hear certain songs, it triggers, thoughts of my mom, or it triggers thoughts of my dad, even my granddad who has transitioned. But that's really truly what the book is about, who it's for, and what I hope that you will gain from it. So I see I've been in here about 20 minutes now. We got about 10 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions? Again, I thank everybody who jumped on this live with me this evening. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to drop them in the comments. We can talk about it while I got a few more minutes before the next person comes on, or I can always answer the questions afterwards. I would love to hear you guys' feedback. Again, any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, let me know. All right. And Tracy, again, I thank you for offering this to the authors of the group. Um, a great thing for us to be able to come out and showcase what we've done. I think we all, can learn from each other. I think, we've all gone through similar things, and sometimes we think that we're the only ones going through something. But when you really talk to the people, you find out that it's actually you're not the only ones going through, that other people are going through as well. And it's just a matter of just being able to reach out and say help a lot of times. All right. So, any questions, comments, concerns? I think Tracy did put up a post in the group, I believe. You can get the book directly on Amazon. Um, if you like. I think all the information, like I said, Tracy did put up, so you can find it there as well. All right. The book is just $10. So, maybe if you haven't lost someone, someone who has, maybe grab it for them. The holidays are coming up. So, and again, I know holidays are always a difficult time. My mom's favorite holiday is and was Christmas. And even after 21 years, sometimes, excuse me, it still can be a little bit difficult. But, I get through, try to, do the best I can to, get through it for my son as well. So, yeah. That's all that I have. Any questions? Excuse me. Let's see. I'm checking my phone because, of course, I can't see it from Facebook. Doing it from my computer. So let me check. All right. No questions. No questions. No questions. All right. All right. Well, I guess if we don't have any questions, and looks like I will just go ahead and end the live. But again, if you guys catch the replay, just simply put replay. If you have any questions, again, just drop them here in the thread, and I will make sure that I get back to you guys and answer those questions. All right. So again, ladies, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you, Tracy. I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone who jumped on tonight. Again, you guys have a great evening, and I will see you guys in the group. All right. Good night.